please rise to pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic on which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
justice.
Thank you very much. And I'll hand it over to the superintendent for new to the schools.
And I'm going to go directly to the principals. I see Charlie, you're well-groomed tonight. Thank you. Would you mind giving us some news of the middle school?
Wait a minute. What does that mean? Am I normally not well-groomed?
I think that means I'm not well-groomed.
Oh, okay. So look, we had a nice beginning. Thankfully, the dividers arrived in time for both groups. I'm not sure everyone knows that on Thursday, or rather Wednesday, before the sixth graders came for their 2-day orientation, that's when the dividers came in and the custodians had them all set up. So we were able to get through with the sixth graders for those 2 days. And then on Friday, the dividers arrived for the rest of the building, and the custodial team, Elsie and his team, came in on Saturday, and they installed the remainder of them for the 7th and 8th graders. So both times it was just in the nick of time, and we were able to open as we had planned. So with all that in place, I think so far, we had the sixth graders on Thursday and Friday, and then we had cohort A today, and we will have the next cohort B on Thursday and Friday. So far, so good. The kids, it's great to see the kids back. They need to be in school, and I'm very happy that they are in school. You can tell that they're, for all of the initial angst around what cohort kids were in, once they're in the building, they're fine. And many parents that I had reached out to and that had initially reached out to me about cohort changes, because it's just, half the school, and then those kids who are on full virtual. And, it's obviously, it's a learning curve for everyone. For our teachers, I think it's challenging when it comes to having divided attention. And I experienced a little bit of this firsthand because I did my respect discussions that were for the kids that were in the room and also the kids that were remote. And it is challenging to have that divided attention where you're engaging and talking to a group that's in the room with you live, and then you have students at home that you're also trying to engage with. So I think it will be, some time before people become habituated to that, and I think they will. But there's definitely as I said, there's a steep learning curve to having that divided attention and feeling like you're connecting with the kids that are, on remote, and then the kids that are in front of you. But our staff has done an incredible job in preparing, and now I think, they have to get used to it. So that's going to take some time. But I'm pleased with the start, and I thank all of you for your support in getting us what we needed. I feel like, I feel like we've sort of overturned every stone we could to be ready, and we just had to do it and sort of rip off the Band-Aid and jump in, which is why I'm happy that all of that stuff came in, because the delaying, I think, Rich and I were talking about this today, that the thought of delaying anymore would just help to increase people's levels of concern, and that's not, it's not necessary. We had to jump in. So we're in it, and I think I'm happy with what I'm seeing so far.
May I ask you a question, Charles?
Sure, John.
Virtual, how many kids full virtual, and did any of the kids that we won't know yet, but a parent could be hybrid and then opt out of that, right? We have had none of that. And how many you got virtual?
Well, right now we have, I think it's 56. I don't have the list in front of me. but we have 56 who are full virtual. And then we talked at the last meeting, and I think the meeting before that, that once you've elected to do that, they are able to come back, but after 13 weeks. So I think that's on November 13th or 14th at the end of the marking period.
Yes, it's 10 weeks for the middle school.
Yes, but all of the other parents could again say, I want out, I don't want hybrid.
Correct. If they're uncomfortable, they can certainly leave, but then they would have to stay for the remainder of the, of the first marking period. But personally, I think it's going to go the other way. Kids, again, they seemed excited. They were happy to engage. They're happy to be around their teachers. They need to be kids, and they need to be interacting with their friends. That's part of middle school as well, part of all school. And I think we're going to see the opposite. I think at the end, I'm just speculating, but I think at the end of the first marking period, we're going to see a number of kids return who are on full remote.
That's great, Charlie. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Sure.
Charlie. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Work that way. Beth, would you mind taking over now?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So like Charlie said, we're just so thrilled to have kids back. That's really been the highlight. Last Thursday, we welcomed back kindergarten, first and second. And then Monday, we were full on K through 5. Tomorrow, pre-K has their orientation, and they'll start on Thursday. It's been a Herculean effort. Just the new procedures, especially arrival and dismissal. Each day we're getting a little bit better as we tweak things. It's getting more efficient. Really a huge thank you to the staff. It's really been all hands on deck to make sure that kids are getting in their classroom safely and feeling like, there's a sense of normalcy in the building, even with all these safety protocols in place. Just the warm welcomes and the air high fives, and just really a really nice vibe in the building. And to echo what Charlie said about being prepared, just a thank you to Tony and Anthony, and those guys were working around the clock to make sure that we were ready to open and to welcome our kids back. We really do appreciate that. We asked for a lot in a short amount of time. Parents have been really flexible and patient as we work through these procedures. Like I said, kids are just thrilled to be back. It's been great. And we'll continue to refine our procedures, and we're just looking forward to, a great year. I do worry, though. I agree with Charlie. I feel like the 64 kids that we have on remote learning right now, it's going to start to get out that things are going well, and they're going to return. And at John Marshall, we don't have the space for everybody. So that would put us in a situation where we would have to move to a hybrid model.
But as we discussed, Beth, my recollection of our discussion was that the John Marshall hybrid model is still 4 days a week in person. Is that correct?
That's what we planned for, yeah.
So the John Marshall hybrid model is a far preferable, in terms of kids want to be in person. It's still good. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we won't have that problem until 13 weeks, right?
That's right. So I think, December 4th is our cutoff date. I'm sure we'll put out some sort of commitment. I'm thinking probably in November, early November. So we can plan and inform parents what we'll be doing.
Wait, I'm sorry, December. 2 weeks before vacation. Wait, so the cutoff date, so how long was this commitment for?
13 weeks.
It's a trimester.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, December 4th is the end of our first marking period.
And of the 64 kids, is there a preponderance in the lower grades, the upper grades? Where are they? All throughout?
It's all over the map. Yeah, it's a mix of kids for sure.
And did we have numbers? I didn't ask Charlie this. Do we have numbers, like how did we ended up with how many more kids in the elementary school? Do we have enrollment numbers on that?
We do. I don't have them with me, but it wasn't significantly more than last time. We've stabilized. Charlie, because the one group, the middle school, actually decreased. We were in the 330s, 340. We're down to, I think, about 306 now, because that 5th grade class coming up was less students than the grade leaving. So we're actually down in the middle school, and high school minimal. It's pretty static.
What are the number of teachers per grade as of right now for kindergarten through 5th grade? How many teachers are per grade?
How many teachers per grade?
Yeah,
Section.
how many classes? Sections.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So K through 2 has 5, and 3 through 5 have 4. And we're up from June, 30 students.
Yeah. It's still a lot less than our peak. We had a peak. I
Yeah,
don't
there were
remember.
6, there were
650.
six, and that was without
Yeah.
pre-K.
Yes, yes,
That was when my daughter was there.
yeah. That was.
25 kids in the kindergarten.
James.
Oh, I just have one more thing. Sorry. I just also wanted to thank the board for supporting in-person learning. I know we had, a lot of hurdles to jump over to make this happen, and I do appreciate your support. We are having a virtual back to school night on September 23rd and 24th at 6 p.m. The teachers will be reaching out to families to schedule Google Meets for the back to school night.
No, it's the
Thank you.
23rd, 24th.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
James, you're on.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much everything that Charlie and Beth said is pretty accurate. I mean, we got off to a very good start, although it's very early. I have to give a lot of credit to a lot of people to the way we've started, from the tech department to buildings and grounds. The teachers are working really hard. I couldn't be more proud of them. What I would say, and I think Charlie kind of said, and I want to echo it, there's a learning curve. This is a different type of teaching. So far the parents have been very understanding. That being said, even within the few days that we've had and conversations I've had with teachers, they are learning on that. They're kind of progressing on that curve. But it's not easy. In terms of, the first priority for me the whole time has been safety, and just taking a walk around. Sometimes I laugh. I was like, maybe I went too far in that mindset. Like it really seems very safe, in terms of walking the building and where people are. Everyone's wearing masks. We haven't had any issues with that. Kids are hand sanitizing. There's social distancing, especially in the cafeteria, which was something, if I'm being honest, I was worried about. But when I go in there, I'm like, why was I worried about this? Things are going very well. We do have 147 students who are full virtual. Their return, we're in a different situation in the elementary. Their return, we could absorb fine. Attendance is an interesting thing we're kind of keeping an eye on in terms of students, checking in. For the most part, the students are doing a very good job with it. But I think we just need to start doing some reach out now for those who haven't fully engaged. But once again, the heroes of this, the teachers are really working hard, and there's a lot of hard work that they're doing. And I couldn't be more proud of the effort that they're putting in. We have a really dedicated group of professionals. I thank everyone from the board to central administration for the support. Once again, we're only this is day 2, and we haven't had the other side of the alpha. But I think we're in much better shape, if I'm being honest, much better shape than I thought we would be in. I mean, it's overall going very smooth.
Thank you, James. Appreciate that. I think we're good. I think we need to move on.
Perfect. Well, I think that it's probably appropriate to thank everybody we're looking at here on the administrators, the tech staff, the custodian staff, the nurses, the teachers, transportation. I mean, the list goes on. If everybody didn't pitch in a little bit more than the normal day, we'd have a tough time. But thank you to everybody, parents, students. It's a joy for everyone. Yes. Everyone's adjusting, and thank you. And while it's not maybe the first time around, but eventually we'll get there. I mean, it's going to change. So thank you.
Just since we're on this topic, can I ask a follow-up question before we go into business? So just a question, I guess, for all the principals, whoever wants to handle it. I talked about this a little bit before, just before the meeting. this is, and thank you to everybody, and this is clearly it's clearly a learning process for everybody. My question to you is, I think I brought this up during the week, I think it would be really helpful to get feedback from students, particularly those that are at home right now, that about how it's going for them. I mean, give them a few days. I agree, but to the principals, because I do think that there definitely are kinks that will be worked out, and I think that students can be part of the solution to that, to really give teachers feedback. I think that on a personal note, online learning is definitely a challenge, as I'm seeing it happen at home, and want to try and make it as enriched an experience as possible. So I would encourage you all to, I mean, I don't know how we do it with surveys or however we do it. I think we need to keep kids in a constant loop about how it's going at home. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that. I have my own thoughts, but I'm going to hold my breath on it for another couple days to see how it continues.
I could kind of hop in with that. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think we're a little bit premature from it, because I think, like I said, just in terms of 3 days of this now, we're not at a finished product to really give the full feedback. But I do think, in a week or two, when maybe we've gone through a cycle, I have a form that I'm thinking to putting out, to the community, and also one, quite frankly, to the teachers, to see how we could support them, in this process, and also really working on them communicating with each other, because there are some ideas that are happening, some good ideas that are happening. I just have to make sure, we're communicating with each other. But yeah, obviously this is something that we need to get as much information as possible, because we are going to be reviewing it and seeing what we can do, to improve.
Right.
And, we make that a part of, I think I probably talked a little bit about this in the spring, that there's no, middle schoolers have no shortage of wanting to tell you what they think about things. So you harness that as a way of getting them to build self-advocacy skills. So our teachers build always into the lessons. If you were to sit in on them, there are always pieces where they give them a chance to say what they think about, what they think about how the learning is going. If I were the teacher and I were with them, I would say, well, how can I do better? How can I improve this lesson? And you do that on, purposefully, to get the kids to start using their own voices and get used to practicing. Well, how do I speak up and say when something isn't going well? Because that's what kids that age have a hard time doing. And that's part of what we're teaching along with the content. So our staff members regularly build in that kind of feedback. But like James said, I think it's too early for anything maybe formal, but from the teacher's point of view, that's going on a regular basis. And we'll share that out at team time. So, because it helps the group improve when people talk about feedback they're getting individually from their own classes. It has to be ongoing. And I think we have to, as a faculty, be responsive to it, because that's the only way it can get better. But it also serves as a means to help the kids understand how to speak up, how to advocate for themselves. It's really very deeply embedded into our program as a middle school.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
I just would add to that, at our level, the parent feedback is very important, because many of the students that are remote, especially the kindergarten and first graders, they're not working independently. There is someone there that's supporting them. So definitely including them in that feedback loop is important. Something that Russell and I have been talking about also is something that we focused on in the spring. Most importantly was the kids' connection to the school. So providing some sort of survey, a social emotional survey, just check in, how you doing, how you feeling about things. Did you eat today? All those sorts of things that we were seeing in the spring, that we want to make sure kids have what they need at home. We'll also be doing our morning announcements at a time where all the remote learning teachers will be able to broadcast it into their remote learning sessions, again, to provide that connection to the school. We did it today and kids loved it. They loved just hearing Senorita Bay's voice, hearing who won the bracelets and whose birthday it was. So I think that's really important that we also not only check in on how the academic piece is going, but also how they're feeling.
Thank you, Beth.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, okay, we have a public comment section. Matt, do we have anybody on the phone for public comment?
You do not, JP, on this round. Thank you.
So we'll make another round back to it again. So if anybody is out watching and does want to make a comment, I'll at the end. Consent agenda. Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I make it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You want the superintendent's report and recommendations? Okay, with item 1, recommend the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that Michael Pinella is, upon the recommendation of superintendent of schools, appointed to a secondary special education teaching position within the special ed tenure area, holds a valid New York State certification in the aforesaid tenure area. That's an area probationary term to commence September 8th, 2020, expire September 7th, 2024, at the annual salary of $85,874. Can I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Is this a new position or what?
No, not a new position. We went over this last board meeting. Jill Collins became dean of students. McGibney was a special ed teacher. He became social studies, and then this particular individual became the special ed teacher. Taking McGibney.
Got it.
Congratulations. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 2, recommend the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that Krista Seniola is, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, appointed to a secondary special education teaching position as a leave replacement commencing on September 8th, 2020 to 2020-21 school year at the annual base salary of $56,039. Can I have a motion?
I make motion.
Second.
And just for clarification, Kathy Butts retired. Kate Rubenstein, a special ed teacher, became Kathy Butts in the English department, and we had to hire for Kate Rubenstein's position. That's who Kristen is.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 3, recommend the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the Board of Education of the East Hampton Union Free School District, pursuant to Rule 14 of the Suffolk County Civil Service Commission, and upon the recommendation of superintendent of schools, does hereby appoint Winston Lyons to the position of custodial worker 1 for the probationary period of 26 weeks, commencing September 16th, 2020, and is to be paid at the annual base salary of $45,627. Have a motion?
I make it.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just again, thank you for this
Congratulations.
hire and also for the next hire, for the board being so considerate in terms of custodial help that the custodians and Keith made the recommendation for. Really appreciate that. So it's helping us in our effort to really keep the buildings clean.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations. Number 4, recommend the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the Board of Education of the East Hampton Union Free School District, pursuant to Rule 14 of the Suffolk County Civil Service Commission, and upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, does hereby appoint Patricia Nelson to a position of custodial worker 1 for the probationary period of 26 weeks, commencing September 16th, 2020, and to be paid at the annual salary based at $45,627. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? I think we had it already.
Both they usually are, when we make a custodial appointment, they work for us as subs.
Correct. Both have.
And where do these 2 live?
I know Patricia's local. I'm pretty sure Winston is close to the Southampton, perhaps, but really close.
Because I hate the trade parade, and I believe that especially our local non-teaching staff and our teaching staff should be local.
Whenever possible. Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 5, recommend the board approve the following appointments for the 2020-21 school year. beginning with Chief Information Officer Timothy Fromm and down to instructional substitute Joseph Malika as a certified instruction rate of pay. Have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
What do we call subs? You know, right now, I'm just sort of curious, and we'll talk more about testing things after, you know, in new business, whatever. But like, what do we do? Like a sub comes in, how do we know what kind of protocols do we have for
In terms of if they were tested.
like COVID protocols? Yeah, just curious. For subs.
We've been able to use, you know, the few that we needed thus far, we've actually used some of the teaching assistants that are already in staff. We've kind of taken them out of the academic intervention programs and used some of them to cover the classes. But actually is allowing them to be fully with the systems already. What will happen in the future is we're working on it and we don't have.
That's to be determined.
I just think I'm gonna just flag that as an issue. Like we need a protocol. We can't just have like subs.
Well, I don't, but here's the issue. We don't test our staff before they come, you know, I don't know what's.
I mean, I'm sure they're gonna have to do the temperature check and the five questions
they have to
that everybody.
Follow along as any other employee, but you can't be
I don't
specific
know. I'm
to.
just asking.
I don't think we have a ton of subs knocking our door down, if I'm not mistaken either, do we?
No, they're dropping like flies.
Yeah, I mean, they're not gonna want to come for the same very reason, so I think sort of.
It's absolutely
Yeah,
true.
we just had a few that yesterday.
Yeah.
that said they're not coming.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and it's, this is an academic meeting tomorrow. All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 6, recommend the board approve the following appointments to teach an additional section of instruction effective September 9th, 2020 for the 2020-21 school year, beginning with Christine Swickard, and ending with.
Make a motion.
Any discussion?
That's for our FLES program.
Okay, and this is fluctuated, we've voted on this several times,
Yes.
but I think the sections keep shifting and class sizes change,
Yeah.
and it's moving
Yeah.
fluid as everything else is.
And Christine's over at John Marshall. Is she over at
She'll
John
be
Marshall?
there remotely 3 days a week.
Great.
Yep.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 7, recommend the board approve the curriculum writing project and appointment at the hourly professional rate of pay of $75.35 as follows. Zoology to Donald Fox. Have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Is this new?
Yeah, half year. It was discussed in academic early last year. We just got to it. It's a new half year science class. We use it for additional science credit.
Yeah.
3 requirements. I mean, to be honest, in my opinion, I think this is the first half year class, new one that we put in 10 years. So,
Great.
no, it just delayed. Everything was delayed. So
Yeah,
it's,
well,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, we're at 2020.
Yep.
So, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 8, recommended the board approve the following resolution. Resolved, the board approve the shared sports agreement between the East Hampton Union Free School District and each of the following school districts for the 2020-2021 school year, and in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in the said shared sports agreement. And it springs, Sag Harbor, Montauk, Bridgehampton, and the Ross School. Have a motion?
I make it second.
Any discussion? I know we talked about it at length,
Yeah.
year after year,
Pretty much.
after year. Any discussion from anybody on board? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 9, recommend that the board approve the consulting agreement between the East Hampton Union Free School District and the Art of Education University, the amount of $4,543 for the purpose of providing 1 year subscription to K-12 art curriculum for 70 teachers for the 2020-21 school year, in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in said agreement. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
So Heather Evans, obviously the challenges of delivering art instruction in a virtual environment, present a variety of challenges.
Yeah.
So Heather started looking for this stuff basically last spring. We had a nice Zoom call with them. So they're looking at teaching blended instruction to our art teachers. Obviously, we have a very, very strong art department, and we don't want our artists to suffer. So this group provides kind of that cutting edge instruction. So.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 10, recommend the board approve the consulting agreement between the East Hampton Union Free School District and Susan Resnick Consulting for the purpose of providing professional development services, the amount of $3,500 for the 2020-21 school year, in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in said agreement. Have a motion?
I make a motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
So this is the sheet we've used her before.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, this is all John Marshall, and that's that program.
So just a question, just tearing off that art consultant. So are there consultants out there that specialize beyond art, but really are like the
Yes.
cutting edge best people to teach?
Yes.
And
Yes, so there, and every administrator here can tell you about the 42,000 emails for the people who wanted to take advantage of what's going on.
Sure.
You have to sift through it, and yes, you can find people who are experts in teaching hybrid education, but you have to be able to sort through it because everybody seems to be in this now to make a buck,
right.
or or public school districts and taxpayers. So yes, there are. I think the best way for this type of thing, for teachers, PB for teachers, is not only, our own principals, but also to look through what other districts are using. BOCES does provide some guidance on that, PTC some guidance on that. They do have people coming in. It's just that, all of a sudden these people didn't exist.
Right.
And then 2 days later, you're getting inundated with hundreds of them. So it's hard to figure out because this has never happened before.
Right.
So I'm hoping some of my colleagues in their district have tried these people and say, oh, these people are good. So
No, absolutely.
if I come to you and say, hey, James wants this PB for his staff, I at least have some backup for it, because it's every day. There's at least 20, 30 emails.
And again, I imagine that, there are teachers in the district that have been doing sort of the classroom,
Right.
so there is some expertise
Yes.
within the
Already.
district. I'd love to see like peer mentoring
Yes.
also.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's a good flip.
thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, so we're on to old business. So an athletic committee update.
So Joe Vasquez here, he joined us, knowing there'd be a lot of questions, I'm sure. The last time the athletic committee met, we were thinking we were going in a certain way, and I think the course radically changed.
It did. The other day, obviously, the athletic council, the safety committee, and the executive board, section 11, decided to move sports till 2021. So that created a lot of issues. I wanted to go over a couple of things for you just to have a grasp of what's happening, and then answer any questions and some ideas I'd like to do for our kids. So the way the season is going to run, the first season will be a winter season starting January 4th to February 27th. In that season, you have your basketballs, your bowlings, your winter tracks, boys swimming, wrestling, fencing, and cheer. Okay, competitive cheer. That's the winter season, which is our normal winter season. March 1st to May 1st is the second season, which is the fall season that got moved. So that's your footballs, your field hockeys, your soccers, and it's boys and volleyball, cross country, and whatnot. The third season, which is the spring season, is April 26th to June 19th, and that's your typical spring seasons. Your baseball, softballs, lacrosse, boys and girls golf is there together, which is a change. Because boys and girls golf is in the fall. That's an issue. We tried as athletic directors when this came along. We were told it was to cut down as much of the overlap as possible. It's a 1-week overlap in the fall season to the spring season, whereas opposed when this first came down, there was a 4-week overlap. It's possible. So kids can actually play 3 sports, and the 1-week overlap only pertains if you make it to the county final. There's no state championship, there's no regional championship. It ends at the county level. If you make the playoffs and get all the way to the end, you will have a 1-week overlap into the next season, which we can account for as we do right now. The modified season.
Does that include the preseason? You have to have a certain number of practices before you can step on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say the start date, that means that's when you're starting those practices.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. And we're building the schedule up now to, most schedules are going to be a little bit modified. An example would be baseball has 20 games that are allowed by the state. They'll probably play 16 to 15 games. Soccer, is usually at 60 games. They have 12 games. So everything's going to be shrunk down a little bit, so we don't tax the kids with 3 games a week in a short schedule. So that's why we give up the state championships for the fall and the winter. Spring is still up in the air. We're not sure how it's going to play out. Just be mindful. Everything I say to you now can change on a dime. But this is the plans that we have because this is like round 4. Modified sports is a little different, creates more challenges for our district because of the overlap. And the coaches that coach the varsity volleyball, let's say, they normally coach varsity middle school volleyball. That's going to create a problem that we'll talk about, Rich, and myself, and Adam. If there is an overlap, and I need to figure it out because I may not be able to staff something. But middle school sports, the winter season starts January 4th to February 6th, and modified. So that's basketball and volleyball, boys basketball and girls volleyball, which is similar, but that's going to be on that short 5-week season. It's a very short season. So right there, instead of going 10 games, you're probably looking at 5. Late winter, February 8th to March 20th, and that's the other half of the boys volleyball, girls basketball. If you look at the dates, that runs right through the varsity season, so I lose my coaches right there, so I have to find staff. Fall is going to be March 22nd to May 8th. That's traditional fall. It's boys and girls soccer, it's field hockey, football, cross country, and tennis for middle school. And then the spring season will be May 10th to June 12th. And that's a typical spring season.
Well, baseball and softball would be warm. That's the bright side. That's the bright side.
We're usually ending May 6th, right?
With the snow.
Yeah. So those are things that came down from the state as far as the timelines. So obviously they threw a curveball on what we were trying to do, getting ready to play. I know the feedback I've gotten from kids. We did a sign up, Google Form sign up, and we had over 300 kids sign up for fall sports. That all is gone. I'm going to be sending out another sign up sheet for something that I'd like to offer. So I met with my coaches this week, actually just this afternoon, about a possible off-season, traditional off-season workout that we would do in the summertime that maybe we can offer this fall. We are allowed to start sports 9/21. The governor said that. Section 11 chose not to start till January. So according to the state, we can do stuff locally. We can do stuff in our schools, kind of like off-season workouts that we would normally have in the summertime. So some of the things I asked the coach about, would they be interested in having a volunteer open turf, open field type thing. And there was a lot of interest that they'd like to do because we didn't do an off-season tryout. It would be outdoors only to start, okay, and see if we can phase in indoors as we go along. I would like to set up an outdoor basketball court. I have 2 hoops at the elementary school that we don't use, indoor hoops, that we can bring out to the parking lot and set it up. And I'd like to set up an outdoor volleyball court so those kids can get the opportunity. The caveats are I have to follow all the Department of Health guidelines that I would have done in the fall. So we have to set up protocols, small groups or cohorts. And what many of my colleagues are doing is they're using the cohorts for kids that are in school. So if you attend school on Monday and Tuesday, and your coach has a workout on Monday and Tuesday, you can go to that workout. If you were virtual that day, you can't come to that cohort. And we keep the groups to 10, not 10. If an athlete is,
But that's what makes sense. I mean, it do.
we should have a cohort.
I can almost argue for the reverse.
Yeah, no.
I'll be honest with you. I want to just discuss that because I could almost argue for the reverse of that.
Right, but if you're in school, then you don't have to work.
You gotta have it the days.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, but it's just the kids that are home those days right now are desperate for some interaction.
Well, then what about Thursday and Friday?
Yeah.
And the kids that are virtual the whole time, they would have to sign up, have a tracking set, and then put them in a cohort so it doesn't go over the number.
Right.
So this is a rough draft. This is things I've discussed with the athletic committee. I've discussed with Richard and Adam. I sent it out to the athletic committee to look at, and I've tweaked it since that time. The equipment has to be a single use as much as possible. So if you do a tennis or you do field hockey, it's your stick, you're the only one that's using it, it's your equipment. We will phase in other equipment, and all equipment that we do use will be sanitized according to the protocols that I have to use, and it's got to be done on a daily basis.
Can we do that?
Is that,
We can.
we have the personnel for that?
We have, this coaches will take it upon themselves, like they do in their club sports, to sanitize the equipment, but whenever possible, it's single-use equipment. So I use my field hockey stick, you can't share. I use my glove, you can't share. You know, soccer, volleyball, those types of sports, basketball, we're all touching the ball. You know, so that ball has to be sanitized. But the good thing is that right now, club sports are going on, and there's little to no incidents at this
Well,
point.
it's been travel baseball, some of travel softball, some with many sports that have played and successfully been fine.
So if approved, there will be no locker room use, okay, and limited use to the building. So we do have facilities outside that folks that can use for restrooms, but we can't open the building on a limited use to athletes or not. But if they need the trainer, which we'll talk about, it'll be by appointment only, because it is an all-season training. And if we want Nick to be here, no more hanging out in his room. You make an appointment, you see Nick, you can set the station outside while it's nice. You do all the treatment outside, and it's very, very structured and restricted. But there's no locker room. So you come to practice, you get dropped off. Coaches will be screening the kids with temperature check. If the temperature's over 100 degrees, just like the guidelines say, you go home, just like we do in the club. If not, then you're here. The screening part also helps if we only keep to the cohort for the kids that are in school, they've been screened already.
Yeah.
Okay, so all I'm screening the kids that are not, the virtual ones are full time, not the kids that are on the other half of the cohort, just the kids that are not in school. I have to screen those few kids. So by having the cohort coincide with them in school, I've already screened them and the school.
Just a question.
Sure.
How long, if it was different process, such as what Jackie was saying, where the kids that are virtual that day would actually be the ones that would come in for the athletics, just to give them something so they're not double dipping on those 2 days of being around their friends. How long would it actually take for the screening to happen for that for the kids that were home to come in and screen to actually do it?
So they would have to fill out the questionnaire, okay, and get the body scan just like they did, and then the coach test.
It's quick.
It's very quick.
Because if it's quick, I mean,
It is very
what
quick.
Jackie was starting to speak about seems to me to be a nicer way to go about it for the kids.
Yeah,
What do you do about a kid that parent is working and how are they getting here at 3 o'clock?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's something that we should discuss. I would really like to have some community input on it. I really do, because we have our.
I like to get it started as soon as we can, because I think the truth is the important part is to get it moving. That's my point.
Well, I agree. I'd love to see it moving. I'd love to see, Joe and I have spoken about this. I'm not supporting indoor activity at all.
Yeah,
I'm like a party.
that's what makes me crazy about the winter sport. It's like, winter sports are basketball and like I said, they're inside. So in January, also, we're not going to do anything. All of a sudden, we're going to be okay to be inside.
I'm not sure
It
we're
makes
going to
no
be
sense.
okay. I'm not sure we're going to be.
Listen, I have my speculation of where we're going to be, and it doesn't make sense.
But I'm not comfortable approving as a school board member indoor use for athletics. I mean,
No, we can't.
why don't we pilot it outside in the fall? I'm all for that.
Could you do a small, like a 10 or less in a gym? I mean, is that going to hurt anyone?
Well, I can answer you. Volleyball was allowed to practice but not play. So you had that situation where the team was in according to guidelines. When you do off season, this is considered now off season, so it's another set of guidelines. So I have to stay in that quota. Okay. So it was different. But if we were to start in 9/21, the team would have been in there practicing.
And the state is okay with that.
The state is
It's just
okay
in
with that.
section 11.
Correct. We decided not to. So just to finish, I would like to pilot the outside first with the outside courts.
Yeah.
See how it goes and morph into an indoor.
We're going to do it slow, whatever we do.
I'm very supportive of outdoor. If you need support on like that, more basketball courts or volleyball courts, like
Honestly, I'd like to see those two things here permanent. It's always never made sense to me that the kids go and play basketball at John Marshall.
Right.
The high school kids.
I 100% agree.
Or
And I
the
think
four
that
day
it's like the best investment that we can make
Yeah.
is right now doing like outdoor stuff.
Yeah.
For
More than
the
area.
kids, is
Time
great.
room, let's do
But
it.
I'd like to see it all outdoor. Like I don't want to see it indoor.
That being said, so the kids that are screened, we already have things in place to screen kids. So I would set something up at a trainer's office, kids that are on virtual learning that day, meaning that if kids are full virtual learning, we would place them in the cohort. So if they're coming in that cohort, 15, 20 kids.
And then they only come twice a week essentially, because it's gonna balance it out.
That's right. That's right.
That makes sense.
We'll balance it.
So
So we're gonna use those protocols, sorry, John, we're gonna use those protocols that are in place already. With the trainer here, and we'll take care of it that way, under the guidance of the nurse's office. The last thing is, we will do this, I sent out a sign-up sheet for teams already. I'm gonna wipe that out, because the reason I need to do that, is now the dates are all different. So what you signed up for in the first sign-up sheet is completely different.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask the community, when I send out the Google message, here's a new sign-up sheet, even though you signed up before, sign up again for the team that you want. The coach will set up a calendar, we'll get that out to you, it's a completely different schedule, so you need to see what's happening. And the last piece is swimming. I met with the Y. The Y has their own protocols. I know we said no indoor sports at all, but we had agreed upon 3 to 4 at the YMCA if we were going to sports. Their protocols that they have to follow are stricter than ours. So we have to decide if we're gonna let kids do an open swim at the Y, knowing that it's on indoor. Whatever you choose is fine, but I wanna make sure when I do the sign-up sheet for teams, they know what the options are, you know?
As long as it meets the guidelines,
But, Joe, am I right? 3 per lane?
It's 3 per lane.
3 per lane.
And we have the whole pool for an hour.
And we have the
Just
pool for
our
now,
kids.
5 days a week.
Just for our kids, but
Yes.
this is not a season now, so we're looking at probably Craig doing it twice a week, because you can't do 5 days a week.
Yeah.
We're not the season, it's off season, so 5 days a week for the hour, 2 days a week for the hour. Okay, we have the whole pool, 3 people in the
So
lane.
you're proposing for the outdoor sports starting soon, right?
28th of September.
Of September, we're gonna allow kids to come and practice, work out or practice in a particular sport, using the same coaches that we would have. That's basically it.
Yes,
And
all on a
this is
volunteer
Not
basis.
only high school, but middle school.
Yes.
too?
We open up to middle school whenever we do an open court, an open gym,
And only outdoors.
only outdoors.
for now.
What about football? Are you gonna allow football to practice?
Football is allowed to practice, their guidelines are different, there's no equipment, it's only conditioning, and they can come and do a summer type workout, okay, which is no tackling, none of that, just conditioning, and whatever Joey wants to do, once a week or twice a week.
And are we restricting, how are we restricting the numbers of kids that show up?
The kids that are in school that day, that's your cohort, not the
Okay,
more than 10.
only in school, right?
Yeah, and then the
And what
kids
about
that-
the virtual kids?
then we would take them and put them into cohorts to balance it out. Now, if we have 20 kids, then we have to set them up in 2 cohorts that day, right? And there's 2 coaches, and you get that pod, and you work with that group of 10, and they work with that group of 10. So that's how we'll set it up, but by
So we're doing
keeping,
it safely. We're doing it safely.
by
I think
keeping
it's
it following
fine.
guidelines.
Let's go back to this, well, I just want to talk through swimming for a second. I don't want anyone to yell at me. I just want to talk it through and ask questions. Okay. So how do you, I don't know the answers to, like, you have the public swimming in the Wise pool too, right?
Not at that time.
Not at that.
No,
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 but the public
but
is.
now last year, when the Y practiced, I'm sorry, when the Hurricanes, they had the gym, they had the pool from 3 to 5 o'clock, and they shared it with the Hurricanes, and nobody else was allowed.
But you're talking about before,
I'm
correct?
talking about again, I don't know the answer to this question, but we're talking about like washing and stuff like this. So people are gonna go into, are they doing an extra chlorination? Do they pump the pool? Like, what are you doing when your kids are?
You mean, because
Okay.
public has been using it.
Right,
before,
public
and
is
other
using,
kids getting their
is
pool.
using a pool and a locker room and,
But they have their guidelines that they have to already.
Not when the kids are there.
no, I understand that, John, but the water is, so they're there.
What I can say,
Well,
Jackie,
you can ban the locker room use.
I'm just asking.
when I met with Sandra, Craig and I met with Sandra, they have their own protocols to open up. They have to follow all the sanitizing, all the things you're talking about. And therefore, I don't know the particular that can get you a list of what
I'd
they're
be
doing.
interested in this, what
Sure.
that is.
But for us, it would be an hour a day, twice a week, only our kids. They would have to sanitize before we come in, and they sanitize when they leave. What they do to sanitize, I can get you everything. There's no use of locker rooms. You enter one way and you leave out the deck door.
Come to the gym,
Yeah, you're not.
the basketball.
Have you?
Right.
Very often, I'll not after, you just have to tell me what agency.
Yep. You come in your bathing suit and you're leaving in your bathing suit. You know, that's, there's no locker right
You might have
now.
a cold, but you.
Yeah, yeah, wrap yourself
So you're gonna go out, any swimmer must go in and shower before they go in the pool. Am I right? That's always a rule. All swimmers will shower before they go in the pool.
I have to
Just
speak,
always have the whole
I will speak
protocol,
to
just
some.
tell them what you're doing.
Sure.
Because it's great, you know, and again, I'm gonna waive that.
I
There's no
thought
law.
it was, I mentioned, showering. Because we mentioned kids coming right to the water, going to the pool, and there's no use for locker, so I'm not sure how they would shower.
Listen, this is also these kids' choice to go. I mean, they don't have to. So if they want to go, I think let them go. Well, they're following protocol that's in place, right?
A couple other things besides that. Keith and I went up to the turf today. We officially, if you will, took ownership, even though it's been open. It looks spectacular, folks. Thank you so much. The kids have been up there already kind of playing around. The field is awesome. It's the best it's been.
It looks really nice.
It's really nice.
They give the taxpayers.
Really good.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And the grounds in general look nice. One positive is no one really used to go to every room back there.
Yeah.
We're not, so we have a lot of space to use things. What I would remind everyone is outside groups, we have no outside group use at this point. If you folks have to consider what you want to do with that, keep it the same or change it. But right now we have no outside use.
Yeah.
The issue we're having is we addressed a little bit of security. There are groups that are coming up here. And I don't mind, we don't mind kid comes up to have a catch and cross catch, but anything organized, we have not approved it.
No.
So,
And you know, according to policy, you're not allowed to.
right.
It's for 18 and under.
Right. So my understanding that we really have to tighten that up with security on weekends, which
Yep.
to make sure. So I don't
Yeah,
want
I think that's something that's important that we do, because if we have gatherings that are on our property, we're opening ourselves up. Listen, this has been going on for years. And if we need to have security here from 8 in the morning until dark on Saturday, Sunday, I think they should be here.
They are.
They are? Okay.
That
good.
is done.
But we need to give them the okay to say,
They
we need to aggressively
have received it.
make sure that these people are.
They've received that message. Yep.
But their own kids can't.
Yep. And they're receptive. They understand.
the last two things I have, which are obvious, Spirit Week and Homecoming are going to be moved to a later date. I'm going to meet with the student council and we'll decide when we want to celebrate, if we can celebrate, what we can do.
What are they
Because
doing
right now,
with the Hall of Fame this year, Joe? Sorry.
we were supposed to go homecoming, so we're pushing it all back.
So is it not gonna be one, or will it be until the spring?
Yeah, we have a class that's going to be inducted, but it's not going to happen now until we reschedule homecoming.
Okay.
Rich Schneider sent the word out to everyone to send it out again. The issue with homecoming also is a spectator issue right now.
You can't have
Yeah, you can have.
So I don't know what's going to happen in the winter. If there's no spectators in the winter, we may push it back to the spring. So once those guidelines come down, I'll lay it out for everyone. And the last piece, as of now, one of the guidelines were in the fall, were limits on buses, transportation, the kids can get in a bus. So I don't know what that's going to look like in the winter time. So we'll figure it out as we go along. But what I'd like to propose is what I just mentioned, to have in-house, open, all-season workouts for our kids, under the guidelines that we need to follow, completely volunteer from the coaches and completely volunteer from our kids, and set them up in cohorts with kids that are in school. I will find out about the why, and I'll answer any question you have.
Thank you, Joe.
Are we will be paying these coaches?
No, it's all volunteer, all-season
Volunteer.
workout. It's all
Are
about
most of them
all-season.
wanting to do this, or because then I'm just wondering about, some sports may not have it then.
Well,
the
our
coaches
kids,
can
our
work it out.
coaches in the summertime, some offered it, some didn't,
Okay.
when they could. So there's no pressure on the coaches to do it, no pressure on the kids to do it. If
Right.
you want to do an off-season workout, let me know. I'll set up a calendar. We'll set up sign-up sheets of what's available, and we'll do it.
And here,
So it won't necessarily be for every sport, but it'll be for
Right.
whichever
Whoever is
sport.
interested in doing
Correct.
it. And I've had coaches ask me they want to do it, so I want to give them the okay. There's no pressure to, like Mike Raituli bowling can't offer it because the bowling alley is
Right,
not available. But
right,
I know Kevin Barry in cross country would like to do it.
right.
So if they want to do off-season workouts, they can, and it's completely volunteer.
Great job.
I
I appreciate it, Joe.
I don't, some of these coaches might feel squeezed. I think they deserve some compensation. I think they
But
do.
they're gonna get it when the season takes place and you know.
Right.
This is typical over summer stuff.
Yeah,
Yes.
They-
they
That's
couldn't
part
do
of
their
their-
summer stuff, so.
I know.
Listen, let's see what we get.
Yeah.
I think it's very important that kids get out and do some things. I think that nobody should be forced to do it on either side. I think it should be done safely, but I think we should give them that, we've got a 60 acres campus here. Get out and use it. You can do it safely with guidance, and I think there's kids chomping at the bit to do it. I think they need
And
it.
then my recollection, John, just for you, is like when school ended with COVID last year,
Yes.
we fully funded all of this.
Well, we.
I know we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, after the season.
Yeah.
Listen, we're not gonna not compensate someone
Yeah,
for what
it was
they did.
I'm just saying that we
Generous.
funded.
Right.
And it was very appreciated.
We were very
They
generous.
Spoken to me, very thankful
Yeah.
of the generosity.
And once they get the season, they will get they'll get paid. So let's hope we can get there.
So through Rich, if you guys want to let me know, whatever, Rich tell me tomorrow, what you want to do as far as going forward with this.
Well,
So we want
start
to doing the sign up, I think.
Can we approve it tonight?
Does anybody oppose it?
Well,
I know you have questions, I think.
the
they're legitimate.
28th is,
No,
It's coming.
what Joe's talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah, I want him to revisit. I say, yes, absolutely, 100%. but all-
Outside.
outside
I think
stuff.
that's where we
I'm not-
start.
I'm
We
not
start
giving-
outside and allow for the discussion.
Right, I'm not giving any approval to anything indoor without coming back.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
agreed.
It's fine.
we'll let you
I think
know
that's
what
fair.
sports
Is that
are.
fair?
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. I agree.
And
I
on
think
a
we're
rainy
going
day,
forward.
rainy day, the kids can't come inside.
No, they
No,
don't.
Right.
They don't
This
come.
is all season we're at. On a rainy day, they wouldn't be coming inside. If you have practice for soccer in the rain, coach will call you. It's actually safe.
No practice today, sorry. See you tomorrow.
Very big plain rain.
Think of it as
With
a
the
summer
with
with
the turf field.
I think it's fine. And if you need more outdoor equipment, I'm all for more outdoor equipment.
Me too.
We're good, and we can do those two things that I mentioned after.
Right.
That's great.
We'll talk to
And I
Grant
agree
about
with
the
you. They
date.
have all
Great,
that.
thank you.
What's
so
that?
much.
Move forward.
That's long.
We do.
Thank
We need whatever we can get them outside, get them doing something.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Frank,
Yeah.
no, it's great. I'm
Thank you.
excited. I'm excited for them because they need something. Like the
Yeah.
principal was saying, it's great to see kids on campus going to school.
Yeah.
I think this is the next step in the progression for
Yeah.
them. I think they need to do it.
One step closer to normal.
Yeah.
Any steps. We good there now?
Yep, so,
So,
new business facilities update. Keith, you want to take over just in terms of, the kitchen and, but Barn, I could also chime in.
Sure. So the kitchen, on schedule, as Mike Guido did last week. Everything's underway. Plumbing's in, everything's covered. On to the next phase. As Joe was saying, the turf field, we took ownership of it today. Everything went well with that. Looks great. You did a great job. Thank you to the community and thank you to the land tech doing a great job. The main thing we discussed in the committee was the softball field. And then we want to have a discussion about that tonight.
Yeah.
So
You know, I was talking about location and I wish, Joe.
Wait, he's gonna give a presentation.
Okay, so we're gonna do a presentation because we got, after the last time we went to facilities with this, there was a pushback on where it was. When I first started this conversation, for me anyway, I was thinking putting it back where it used to be. That's what I thought it was gonna be, and then I know it kind of went in athletic a little different direction. I was talking about being put where the JV field hockey uses now, which would take a field from them.
It was never said that. It was given
No, I know, but
that parent said it was decided. It wasn't
Yeah, no, no,
decided. It was
but-
four things were given.
But honestly, when
As a
it came to
choice.
facilities the other day, I know you weren't there. When it came to facilities the other day, they're like, oh, that's where it's gonna be. I'm like, whoa, wait. So I wanna make sure everybody, that's what they told. I'm just telling you what we were told. So I said, well, we need, a full board discussion, and some community input, as to where it goes. So Joe's gonna give a presentation. When did he say, do you know when?
The next board
meeting?
Yep.
So take note that there'll be a presentation at the next board meeting for locations for the girls JV softball field, which I think is important, that it's on this campus. I'm not gonna say what I think, because I think you probably know, but at the same time, I think that it needs to be discussed by the entire board, and it needs to be discussed by the community. So we'll get a presentation on it and take it from there. Anyway, Go ahead, Keith, sorry.
That's-
And then, bus
One of the
route?
positions that the field was gonna go on is there's a strong feeling from the field hockey people that
Correct,
a bad spot.
correct.
And they're in agreement with that. Is the recommendation gonna be to put it there?
I think that's one of the options.
It's not one of the options, one of the four options.
We need to have a bigger discussion on this, and that's what we're gonna do.
I wanna have a win-win,
Yeah, exactly.
hopefully.
Yeah.
There were
Let's
four
have
options.
very little losses we can get. But that's it, and I know Keith had an update on the bus route. Did you get heard from Mike Rito this week at all? Have you heard anything?
Not yet, still nice, it's still waiting for the final approval.
Okay, so we're close.
We're close.
We're close to final approval, then we can let the bid and get this built. But so the public knows, it's been moving. COVID, this one got trapped right in like the COVID triangle, and it's like gone. So hopefully we should have been building it by now, honestly.
yeah.
And we're not. So it's a metal Butler style building, so it should in theory not take that long. But if anyone can make a project long, the school district can do a really good job with that. So we're trying. John, you have something, John?
No, there's somebody at the door.
Oh,
Master.
all right. So are you good, Keith, with that? Matt, do we have anybody for public comment?
We do not. You are free again, JP.
Perfect. Does anybody else have anything you want to add or anything? All right, we're gonna go for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.